Hi friends, I'm LJ Jarvis, and welcome back to Lewis Jarvis Show. Well guys, 9th edition to Warhammer 40k has finally arrived. The new models are coming, the new codexes are arriving, and it seems like this edition to 40k will truly be a gem of an edition within this hobby. It's going to be very cool to see how Games Workshop will present the lore, and I can't wait to see what kind of models they will release for all the factions within 40k. Hopefully you'll get a lot of cool stuff for the Tau Empire, the Astra Militarum, and the Tyranids. I'm hoping for a lot of cool stuff, and I'm pretty sure you are as well. However, for this video, instead of me talking about what I'm looking for within 9th edition and talking about all the cool models that Games Workshop has just revealed, I figured I want to have a sort of little discussion with you guys about a potential army that may or may not happen within 40k. That being the idea of, should the squads get an army for the 40k tabletop? Now the reason why I'm bringing this up is that, just keep in mind, this is coming from someone who hasn't read the last book to Psychic Awakening yet, but it seemed that the squads were kind of teased within a book of having an existence within the 40k setting. At least with the idea of they're no longer the extinct race that everyone has almost forgotten about. I'm not so surprised that this has happened because, we were given a squad model within Necromunda, so it's not that much of a reveal to me. Yet I did hear a few people sharing their thoughts about, could a squad army within 40k work within tabletop? As in, should Games Workshop make a whole new range of squad models within a game? Kind of like what they have done with the Gene Stealer cults. The thing though is that, even though I am all for a new faction making an appearance within Warhammer 40k, I'm a bit iffy on the idea of the squads getting an army. Why do I say this? Well, in my point of view, it seems that Games Workshop kind of never really cared about the concept of squads. Not like, they're like an ancient army that Games Workshop just never gave that much attention to, like what they have done with the Sword. Not being neglectful, but more like not caring about the squads, or regretting writing them within a setting. But why do I say this? Well, there was this post from 1D4chan, supposedly from a Games Workshop employee, about their history with the squads and their sort of regrets of writing them within a setting. I'll read to you a bit of this quote, and I'll provide the full thing within the description down below of this video. But it reads, "First of all, squads were not dropped because they were not selling well. There are then, and are now, plenty of other figure ranges that sell any sort of percentage quantities that the squads pull down, especially when you look across all the ranges produced by Games Workshop rather than just those of 40k. No, the reason the squads were dropped was because the creatives in the studio, people like me, Rick, Andy C., Gav, etc., felt that we had failed to do the dwarf archetype justice in its 40k incarnation. From the name of the race, squats, what were we thinking? Through to the sort of biker motif, we had managed to turn what was a proud and noble race in Warhammer and other literacy forms where the archetype exists into a joke race in 40k. We only fully realized what we had done when we were working on the second edition of 40k. The mistake we made then, and deeply regretted since, was to leave them in the background and the Get You By Army List book that appeared. With hindsight, we should have dropped the squads back then and have saved ourselves a lot of grief later on." So what we can take from this is that even though Games Workshop was neglectful with some of its factions, they really regretted writing the squads within the setting, where unlike the dwarfs within Warhammer Fantasy, who are like these noble warriors and so forth, the squads have been written and designed to the point that they're a parody army. A parody army that just doesn't fit within a setting like 40k. Now, of course, within Warhammer 40k, we do have races like the orcs, and, I just love how colorful they are within the lore and setting, and their models are really great. Even though they aren't a grim race, they are a fun race within a setting. But it seemed like here within the squads, there wasn't the same enthusiasm as there was when they were creating the orcs. Because what I mean is that there was the enthusiasm when they were developing the orcs. And that's why they kept them with all the other additions, because they worked and they liked them. But it seems like with the squads, like maybe some of its other ideas within Rogue Trader and the very early additions to 40k, it seems like they just didn't work, or at least in my opinion. Hence why later on they would say, yeah, they just got eaten by a swarm of Tyranids. Then later on, never even mention it. But could they work now, though, within 9th edition? Could they bring back an old faction like the squads and make them work within a tabletop? After all, they did the same thing with the Genestealer cults and eventually with the Schwartes. Could they give them a whole new range of models and write their lore to be something spectacular within the setting? I'm pretty sure they could, but the other issue that I have is that there is a sort of squad army found already within Warhammer, but they're given a new name and found within a different setting, that being Age of Sigmar, and them having the name Caradon Overlords. Now, of course, Dwarden and squads are completely different things. Like, the Dwarden are actual fantasy dwarves, and the squads are a separate evolution of humans. But I can't help but get the impression that when Games Workshop were writing Age of Sigmar, and when they were writing new factions that they could do for the tabletop, I can't help but feel, or at least get the impression, that the Caradon Overlords are the sort of squad army that Games Workshop might have done for 40k. Or again, in my point of view at least, and what I get out of it at the end. Now, I'm not saying that just because they did the Overlords, they can no longer do squads. However, the issue that I have is that if they did squad army, would it be almost no different from Caradon Overlords? I mean, they could probably still do the biker aesthetic, and I'm pretty sure they could do something really cool and fun for that. Yet at the same time, I'm still a bit iffy on the idea. Because if they didn't have the enthusiasm back then, would they have it now? Like, I'm pretty sure with evidence like them coming back in Necromunda and them having a snippet of lore within Psychic Awakening, I'm pretty sure that they have the enthusiasm now. I'm pretty sure they want to do something cool for them now. And I'm pretty sure that they would do something cool. Because with the money and with the new enthusiasm of them creating these beautiful models within 40k and AOS, and with them trying their best to make really cool stories for the setting, I'm pretty sure they could do something nice for the squads, if they actually follow up on the idea of giving the squads an army. Just understand, though, that as someone who started Warhammer during the late years of 7th edition and only really got into Warhammer because of 8th edition, and, because I never had that much experience with old school Warhammer and the whole concept of squads, I am very biased on the idea of a very old army like the squads making a return to 40k. Because, I never had the exposure of Rogue Trader or the very, very old additions to Warhammer. I'm a bit iffy on the idea, but I'm willing to listen to the other side. As in, I'm willing to listen to their ideas about how Games Workshop could do the squads, if they actually make them into an army. So even if I'm not for the squads getting an army in 40k, if they were to get an army, I wouldn't act as if it was a crime against humanity. If you have opinions and ideas about how Games Workshop could do the squads and how they could present their lore, leave your ideas in the comments down below this video. I'm always willing to listen. But with all said and done, thank you all so much for watching. and I'll see you next week with a brand new video. Have a great day, everyone. And if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to subscribe, then make sure to activate the bell notification button so you'll never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.